Fractured trust, the blood pooling beneath the Vesperan dignitary was iridescent, catching the fractured light of the abandoned mining facility in shimmers of cobalt and violet. Dahlia Reeves had seen enough alien physiology during her 10 years, with Earth's diplomatic security division to know that this particular shade meant severe arterial damage. "Stay with me," she muttered, pressing her field dressing against the wound where a jagged piece of shrapnel had pierced the Vesperans. Exoskeletal plating. The ambush had been meticulously planned. Someone knew exactly when and where the secret diplomatic meeting would take place. The alien's 4 eyes, arranged in a diamond pattern across his angular face, blinked in sequence. "You should leave," he managed, voice like gravel against glass. "More attackers will come." "Not happening," Dahlia replied, checking her weapon's charge with her free hand. "I'm getting you out of here, Ambassador." "War Chief," he corrected, mandibles clicking, faintly. "Corvin Thalmat, 7th tier of the Vesperan battle hierarchy. This was to be my first diplomatic mission." Dahlia felt the floor beneath them tremble. The facility's structural integrity was compromised from the explosion. They had minutes, not hours. "Well, Chief Thalmat, I'm Lieutenant Dahlia Reeves, and your first diplomatic mission is officially a disaster." She secured the bandage and helped him to his feet, all 7 feet of him. "Can you walk?" Corvin steadied himself against her shoulder, the weight of his armored frame nearly buckling her knees. "I can survive." They moved through the wreckage in tense silence, Dahlia guiding them toward her extraction point 3 levels below. The attack had been too precise, too informed. Only a handful of officials on either side knew about this preliminary meeting, a first attempt at discussing the contested mining rights in the Proxima system. "Your team?" Corvin asked as they descended a maintenance shaft. "Dead," Dahlia replied, flatly. "Yours?" "The same." The silence that followed was broken only by their labored breathing and the occasional groan of the failing structure. When they reached the sublevel housing Dahlia's emergency shuttle, she quickly bypassed the security systems and helped Corvin inside. As the shuttle's engines hummed to life, Dahlia felt something cold and metallic press against her wrist. Corvin had placed an intricate bracelet-like device against her skin. "What are you doing?" she demanded, pulling away. "You have saved my life," Corvin stated, his tone formal. "Among my people, this creates an imbalance that must be addressed. I invoke the Kavmat, the Soul Covenant." Dahlia shook her head. "I don't need your gratitude. It's my job." "This is not gratitude," Corvin replied. "It is an ancient binding, older than our first contact with your species. My life is now in your debt." The shuttle broke atmosphere as Dahlia processed his words. "So what? You're my servant now? That's not how we do things." Corvin's expression remained unreadable, but a subtle shift in his posture suggested something between amusement and offense. "The Kavmat is not servitude. It is connection." He touched the similar bracelet on his own wrist. "We will be bound mind to mind. What I know you will know, what you feel I will feel. This is the way of my ancestors." Dahlia's training hadn't prepared her for this. "That sounds invasive as hell, and impossible." "Your species understands so little of consciousness," Corvin remarked. "The Covenant allows for truth when words fail. And truth, Lieutenant Reeves, is what we both need now." The shuttle's communication system crackled. "Lieutenant Reeves, this is General Takeda. Report status immediately." Dahlia hesitated, looking at the alien war chief whose life she'd just saved, whose blood was still drying on her uniform. Someone had wanted this meeting to fail. Someone had wanted them dead. "Dahlia," Corvin said quietly, using her first name. "The attack was not random. What I carry in my mind, what I was authorized to share today, some would kill to prevent it. The Covenant offers protection for both of us." She reached for the comm. Decision made. "General Takeda, this is Reeves. Mission compromised. All personnel lost except for myself and War Chief Thalmat. Requesting secure medical extraction at the following coordinates." What she didn't say was that by the time they reached Earth space, she might very well be sharing her thoughts with the most decorated warrior in the Vesperan fleet, and whatever dangerous knowledge he carried. Memory's Edge, the medical bay of Earth's orbital station horizon, gleamed with sterile efficiency. Dahlia watched through the observation window as a team of xenobiologists examined Corvin, their movements cautious around the imposing Vesperan. His recovery had been remarkable. The wound that should have taken weeks to heal had nearly closed in 3 days. "The bracelet stays on," Dahlia told Dr. Winters, the station's chief medical officer, who eyed the metallic band on her wrist with undisguised curiosity. "Lieutenant, we have no idea what that device is doing to your neural pathways," Winters countered, tapping her tablet. "Your brain scans show unusual activity in the parietal lobe, the area associated with spatial awareness and sensory integration." "It's a cultural obligation," Dahlia replied firmly. "Diplomatic incident and all that." Winters looked unconvinced but nodded reluctantly. "General Takeda wants to see you. Alone." In the general's office, Dahlia stood at attention, ignoring the dull throbbing at her temples that had started the previous night. "At ease, Lieutenant," Takeda said, his weathered face betraying nothing. "Explain to me why our first legitimate contact with a Vesperan military commander in 15 years ended with all personnel dead except you." Dahlia recounted the ambush clinically, omitting only the details of the Covenant. "Someone knew exactly when and where to hit us, sir." Takeda's eyes narrowed. "And what did the war chief tell you about his purpose for this meeting?" "Only that he carried information some would kill to suppress," Dahlia answered truthfully. The general activated a privacy field around his office. "The Vesperan High Command contacted us 6 weeks ago with claims of discovering ancient technology in the Proxima system. Technology they believe originated from neither of our species." Dahlia felt a strange tingling in her fingertips. "A third intelligence, potentially predating both our civilizations by millions of years," Takeda confirmed. "The mining rights dispute was a cover story. This meeting was about joint research access." As he spoke, Dahlia experienced a disorienting flash, a vision of towering crystalline structures beneath an alien sea, glowing with internal light. The image wasn't hers, yet she could feel the cold pressure of deep water, taste the metallic tang of an atmosphere not meant for human lungs. "Lieutenant?" Takeda's voice pulled her back. "Sorry, sir. Still recovering." She steadied herself against his desk. "What happens now?" "The war chief has requested you as his liaison during his recovery. Given the circumstances, I've approved it, against my better judgment." Takeda studied her face. "There's something you're not telling me." Dahlia met his gaze evenly. "With respect, sir, there's something everyone's not telling me. An entire team died under my protection." After being dismissed, Dahlia found Corvin in his secured quarters, standing by the viewport overlooking Earth. Even with his back to her, she sensed his awareness of her presence. "Your mind is resilient," he said without turning. "Most non-Vesperans experience psychotic breaks during the early phase of the Covenant. Lucky me," Dahlia responded dryly. "What was that vision? The structures underwater?" Corvin turned, his 4 eyes focusing on her with unsettling intensity. "The first discovery, site on Proxima B. You shouldn't have been able to access that memory yet." "Yet? You're planning to share classified information through this connection?" "The Covenant doesn't permit selective sharing," Corvin explained. "In time, our minds will align completely." Dahlia stepped closer, lowering her voice. "General, Takeda told me about the third intelligence theory. Is that what this is about? Is that why someone tried to kill us?" Instead of answering, Corvin placed his 6-fingered hand near the bracelet on her wrist. "The connection strengthens faster, with proximity and intent. If you wish to understand, we must accelerate the process. And if I don't wish to have an alien consciousness flooding my brain, then remove the bracelet," Corvin said simply. "Break the Covenant. I cannot force this bond." Dahlia hesitated. 10 years of training screamed against the vulnerability of such an intimate connection. Yet something deeper, The same instinct that had led her to save him instead of retreating pushed her forward. "Will it hurt?" she asked. "Yes," Corvin answered honestly, "but pain is clarifying." Dahlia removed her jacket and sat cross-legged on the floor. "Show me." Corvin joined her, their bracelets nearly touching. "Focus on your breathing. Allow your consciousness to expand beyond your physical form." The pain began as a sharp pressure behind her eyes, then radiated outward like lightning through her neural pathways. Dahlia gasped as foreign memories crashed against her own. The rigid training grounds of the Vesperan battle hierarchy, the weight of ceremonial armor, the metallic taste of ritual combat drinks. Then deeper memories emerged. Corvin standing before the Vesperan High Command, being shown holographic projections of impossible structures. A classified briefing about energy signatures that matched no known technology. And beneath it all, a growing dread that whatever lay beneath the oceans of Proxima B was not dormant, but awaiting. "They're awakening," Dahlia whispered, the words, not her own. Corvin's eyes widened. "You shouldn't know that phrase. That information was sequestered in my secondary memory cortex." The connection between them snapped with physical force, throwing Dahlia backward. An alarm blared through the station as the lights flickered. "Station security breach," announced the automated system. "Unknown energy signature detected in Diplomatic Sector 7. All personnel initiate containment protocols." Dahlia scrambled to her feet as Corvin moved to the door, his posture shifting to combat readiness. "They found us," he growled. "The Covenant has drawn attention." "What attention? From whom?" Dahlia demanded, drawing her sidearm. Corvin's expression darkened. "There are factions within both our governments who believe the discovery should remain buried. They call themselves the Eternal Guardians." The door to their quarters slid open, revealing a security team led by a man Dahlia had never seen before, wearing the insignia of Earth Intelligence. "Lieutenant Reeves, War Chief Thalmat," the man said with a cold smile. "I'm Director Blackwood. You're both experiencing a psychotic episode due to alien biochemical contamination. We're here to help." Behind her, Dahlia heard Corvin whisper in her mind, "They will separate us. The Covenant must be completed, or what I know dies with me." As the security team advanced, Dahlia made her choice. Buried truths, the maintenance tunnel smelled of lubricant and recycled air. Dahlia crawled forward on elbows and knees, trying not to think about the impossibility of their escape. Behind her, Corvin moved with surprising agility for his size, his exoskeletal plates occasionally scraping against the metal conduit. "Blackwood's security override shouldn't have worked," Dahlia whispered. "Only General Takeda has that level of clearance." "The Eternal Guardians have infiltrated the highest levels of both our governments," Corvin replied. "Your general may be compromised or detained." They reached a junction where the tunnel widened enough to sit. Dahlia checked the small data tablet she'd grabbed during their escape. "I've locked down our biosignatures in the station's tracking system, but it won't hold for long. We need to reach the civilian docking ring." A sudden wave of dizziness washed over her, bringing with it fragmented images. A massive underwater excavation site, researchers in specialized pressure suits, a chamber lined with symbols that seemed to shift when viewed directly. "The Covenant is progressing faster than anticipated," Corvin observed, his voice tinged with concern. "Your neural architecture is unusually compatible." Dahlia massaged her temples. "These visions, they're from the Proxima expedition?" "Yes. 3 lunar cycles ago, our deep-sea exploration team discovered what appeared to be artificial structures beneath the methane ice. The architecture matched no known design principles from either of our species." Another vision flashed through Dahlia's mind, this one of a small, crystalline object being carefully extracted from a recessed panel. "The resonance key," she murmured, the term arising from somewhere in Corvin's memories. The Vesperan's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of surprise. "You shouldn't have access to that designation yet." "What is it?" "A control mechanism, we believe. It responded to specific electromagnetic frequencies by singing." The station's alert system suddenly blared to life. "Attention all personnel. Security lockdown in progress. Report any sightings of Lieutenant Dahlia Reeves and Vesperin Delegate Corvin Thalmott to station security immediately. They are considered contaminated and dangerous. We need to move, Dahlia said, checking the access panel at the junction. There's a cargo bay 2 sections over that receives civilian deliveries. If we can stow away on an outbound transport. Where would we go? Corvin asked. Dahlia hesitated. The logical choice was to contact her superiors, to trust the chain of command. But Blackwood's intervention suggested corruption at levels she couldn't predict. I have a contact, she finally said. Former DSD operative who went independent. She runs a research outpost in the asteroid belt, off official channels. You trust this person? I trust her more than I trust anyone wearing a uniform right now. They moved through the maintenance shafts until they reached the cargo bay. Crouched behind a stack of supply crates, they watched as workers loaded a civilian transport bound for the belt. We'll have to time this perfectly, Dahlia whispered. As she spoke, her vision doubled momentarily, seeing the scene through her eyes and also from Corvin's higher vantage point. The disorientation nearly made her retch. The Covenant is accelerating, Corvin warned. Soon the separation between our consciousness will become fluid. That's not comforting. It wasn't meant to be. They slipped aboard the transport unseen, concealing themselves in a storage compartment filled with atmospheric regulation equipment. As the ship detached from the station, Dahlia felt the familiar lurch of artificial gravity adjusting. We have 12 hours until we reach the belt, she said. You should tell me everything about this resonance key before I start experiencing your memories without context. Corvin settled against the bulkhead. The key is merely one component of what we discovered. The structures contain technology that appears to manipulate quantum states directly. Technology that could revolutionize or destroy both our civilizations. And the Eternal Guardians want to suppress this discovery? Why? Some believe the technology is too dangerous. Others fear what it reveals about our origins. Corvin's voice lowered. There is evidence suggesting both Vesperins and humans were engineered by this precursor civilization. Dahlia stared at him. That's heretical? Unbelievable? Yes, which is why certain factions would prefer such knowledge remain buried. The journey passed in uncomfortable silence, broken only by Dahlia's occasional gasps as new memories filtered through their strengthening bond. By the time they reached the asteroid belt, the boundaries between their separate consciousnesses had begun to blur alarmingly. The outpost, officially designated Research Station Beta 9, clung to a mid-sized asteroid like a metallic barnacle. Its unofficial name among independent operators was Sanctuary, a place where research could be conducted outside governmental oversight. Dr. Fujita, Dahlia called after their shuttle docked. It's Reeves. We need help. The airlock cycled open, to reveal a compact woman in her 60s, her silver hair pulled back in a severe bun. Dr. Himiko Fujita's eyes widened at the sight of Corvin. When you said we, I assumed you meant another human, she remarked dryly. Come inside quickly. The interior of the outpost was cluttered but organized, every surface covered with research equipment and holographic displays. Fujita led them to a secure room at the station's core. You're experiencing neural entanglement, she stated after examining their bracelets. Fascinating. I've only read theoretical papers on Vesperin consciousness sharing. Can you help us? Dahlia asked, fighting another wave of disorientation. Perhaps. But first, tell me why Earth intelligence wants you both so badly that they've issued an all-frequencies capture order. Dahlia looked at Corvin, who nodded almost imperceptibly. We have information about an ancient technology discovered in the Proxima system, possibly predating both our civilizations. Fujita's expression sharpened. Show me. Corvin removed a small data crystal from a hidden compartment in his armor. This contains partial scans of the site and the initial analysis. As Fujita uploaded the data, the station system suddenly powered down, then restarted with emergency lighting. That's not supposed to happen, Fujita muttered, fingers flying across her console. Someone's trying to access our systems remotely. The main screen flickered to life, showing a detailed schematic of an artifact, the resonance key. Beside it appeared specifications of a nearly identical object. "What am I looking at?" Dahlia asked. "The impossible," Fujita whispered. "On the left is your Vesperin discovery. On the right is an artifact humanity found 50 years ago on Mars, classified at the highest levels. They're identical." Corvin moved closer to the screen. "That's not possible. The Proxima system is light years from Mars." "Unless they were placed deliberately," Fujita suggested. "As part of a network." Dahlia felt a sudden, searing pain behind her eyes as a new memory emerged, not from Corvin's mind but buried deep within her own. A classified briefing she'd received 3 years earlier, details deliberately suppressed through chemical memory blocks. "Operation Deadfall," she gasped, the words tearing from her throat. "I was part of a security detail for a research team on Mars. We were studying something they told us was a meteorological tool." Corvin's 4 eyes fixed on her. "Your government already knew." Before Dahlia could respond, the station's proximity alarms blared. Fujita's face paled as she checked the scanner. 2 vessels approaching. 1 Earth intelligence cruiser, 1 Vesperin scout ship. She looked at them grimly. "It seems both your governments have found you." Dahlia touched the bracelet on her wrist, feeling the connection to Corvin pulse with increasing strength. "The Covenant isn't just about repaying a life debt, is it?" she asked quietly. "You needed someone outside Vesperin control who could access human classified information, someone who could verify what you suspected." "Yes," Corvin admitted. "But I didn't anticipate how deep the connection would become, or what secrets you carried unknown even to yourself." The station trembled as docking procedures initiated. They had minutes at most. "Fujita," Dahlia said urgently, "is there another way out of here?" The scientist's lips curved into a thin smile. "There's always another way. But first," she turned to the console, fingers dancing across the interface. "Let's see what happens when 2 identical impossible artifacts are brought into quantum resonance." Shattered Veil Fujita's laboratory blazed with energy as the holographic representations of the 2 artifacts, one from Mars, one from Proxima b, aligned in perfect synchronicity. The air itself seemed to vibrate at a frequency just below human hearing, though Dahlia could feel it resonating through her bones. "Quantum entanglement on a macroscopic scale," Fujita breathed, her eyes reflecting the pulsing light. "The artifacts are communicating." Through their strengthening bond, Dahlia felt Corvin's mixture of awe and apprehension. The connection between them had progressed beyond mere memory sharing. She could sense his emotions, his instincts, the way his species processed sensory information so differently from humans. "They're coming," Corvin said suddenly, his head tilting toward the outer hull. "Both teams have breached the primary airlock." Fujita nodded grimly and activated a hidden panel in the floor. "This maintenance shaft leads to my private hangar. The vessel isn't much, but it's unregistered." The sound of boots echoed through the station's corridors. Dahlia drew her weapon, positioning herself between the laboratory door and her companions. "Go," she ordered. "I'll hold them off." Corvin touched her shoulder, the gesture unexpectedly gentle from such a formidable warrior. "The Covenant binds us. We go together, or not at all." In that moment, the final barriers between their minds dissolved. Dahlia gasped as the full weight of Corvin's knowledge flooded her consciousness. Not just about the artifacts, but about the Vesperin High Command's true fears. The artifacts weren't tools. They were keys to something vast and ancient, a network spanning dozens of star systems. A technology so advanced it had once reshaped entire worlds, perhaps even created the conditions for life itself on both Earth and the Vesperin homeworld. And it was awakening. "They engineered us," Dahlia whispered, the realization burning through her. "Both species, different adaptations for different environments, but from the same template. That's what the Eternal Guardians are hiding." The laboratory door slid open. Director Blackwood stood flanked by Earth intelligence operatives, while a group of heavily armored Vesperans positioned themselves on the opposite side of the room. "Lieutenant Reeves," Blackwood said smoothly, "your neural patterns show severe contamination. We're here to help you." The Vesperan commander stepped forward. "War Chief Thalmot, you have violated sacred protocols by sharing classified knowledge with outsiders. Return with us for purification." Dahlia felt Corvin's rage pulse through their bond. "Purification?" he spat. "A euphemism for memory erasure." Fujita moved to her console, fingers hovering over the controls. "Whatever you're planning, decide quickly." Dahlia looked at the aligned artifacts, still pulsing in resonance. Through Corvin's knowledge, she understood what they were witnessing, the activation of a system dormant for millennia. "Both our governments have been lying," she announced, raising her voice. "These artifacts aren't isolated discoveries. They're part of a network created by a civilization that predates both of ours, a civilization that engineered our species." Blackwood's composed facade cracked slightly. "Lieutenant, you're not authorized. The evidence is being transmitted to multiple secure channels right now," Dahlia bluffed, nodding toward Fujita's busy hands at the console. "Independent researchers across 3 systems will have complete data within minutes." The Vesperan commander chittered something in his native language. Corvin responded with a harsh, clicking sound that Dahlia somehow understood as a formal challenge to authority. "Your deception ends today," Corvin declared. "Both our peoples deserve to know their true origins." "You don't understand the consequences," Blackwood said, his voice lowering. "The public isn't ready for this knowledge. The societal upheaval, the religious implications, the power implications," Dahlia interrupted. "Whoever controls this, technology controls the future of both our species. That's what this is really about." The artifact's resonance suddenly intensified, bathing the laboratory in blinding light. Through their bond, Dahlia and Corvin shared a single thought. "Now." Fujita slammed her hand down on the console. The laboratory floor beneath the Eternal Guardians dropped away, a cleverly disguised containment trap. As their adversaries fell, Dahlia grabbed the physical representation of the Mars artifact, while Corvin secured the Proxima key. "This way," Fujita called, already disappearing down the hidden passage. As they fled toward the hangar, Dahlia felt the covenant between them stabilize into something neither of them had anticipated, not merely shared consciousness, but a true fusion of perspectives. Human intuition merged with Vesperan strategic thinking, Earth empathy balanced with Vesperan honor codes. Fujita's vessel was small but well-equipped, detaching from the station with minimal thrust to avoid detection. As they accelerated away, Dahlia placed the 2 artifacts side by side in the ship's secure storage. "Where do we go now?" Fujita asked, plotting evasive courses. Dahlia looked at Corvin, their shared knowledge crystallizing into understanding. "Earth," she said. "Vesperan Prime," he said simultaneously. They both paused. Then Corvin continued, "Neither. We go to where it began. The first colony," Dahlia finished. "The place where both our species were first created." Fujita glanced between them, eyes widening. "You know where that is?" Together they turned to the navigation system. Their hands moved in perfect synchrony as they entered coordinates. Neither of them had consciously known before this moment. "The covenant is complete," Corvin said softly. "Not a debt repaid, but a truth revealed." As the ship jumped to faster-than-light travel, Dahlia felt a strange peace despite the danger. Whatever awaited them at those coordinates, whatever secrets, lay buried in the origins of both their species. They would face it not as separate beings, but as something unprecedented, something the engineers of both their races could never have anticipated. Covenant fulfilled. The planet hung in space like a forgotten jewel, its atmosphere swirling with amber and turquoise clouds, vast oceans glimmering beneath. No official charts marked its existence. It occupied a blind spot between surveyed sectors, hidden by a peculiar gravimetric anomaly that deflected standard scanning techniques. "Nexus," Dahlia whispered, the name arising from their shared consciousness. "The beginning point." Fujita's instruments struggled to maintain stability as they entered orbit. Whatever's down there is generating enormous energy fields. The patterns match both artifacts but magnified exponentially. Through the viewport, surface details emerged. Massive geometric structures covering entire continents, their outlines still visible despite millions of years of erosion and vegetation growth. Not ruins, but a world-spanning machine, dormant, but intact. They built on a planetary scale, Corvin observed, his voice tinged with reverence. Nexus was never just a colony. It was their central creation forge. As they prepared for descent, Dahlia felt a subtle shift in their connection. The Covenant had stabilized into something neither Vesperan tradition nor human science had anticipated. A perfect balance where two distinct consciousnesses coexisted without overwhelming each other. They remained individuals, yet together held something greater than their separate selves. "The Eternal Guardians will follow us," Dahlia said, checking the ship's defensive systems. "Both factions." "Let them come," Corvin replied. The truth was never meant to remain buried. Their landing site was a vast plaza of iridescent stone, bordered by towering structures that defied conventional architectural principles, buildings that seemed to exist simultaneously in multiple geometric states. At the plaza's center stood a dais with two distinct impressions. "Perfect fits for our artifacts," Fujita noted as they approached cautiously. "This is no coincidence." Dahlia felt a pull toward the dais, not physical but perceptual, as if reality itself bent slightly around it. Whatever the precursors left here, it was designed to be found when both our species reached a certain point of development. Or, perhaps, Corvin suggested, when individuals from both species achieved a specific form of connection, they placed the artifacts in their respective recesses. For a breathless moment, nothing happened. Then the plaza beneath them illuminated, lines of light spreading outward in fractal patterns that matched neither human nor Vesperan mathematical systems, yet somehow incorporated elements of both. The air shimmered as a holographic presence materialized, a form that shifted between approximations of human and Vesperan anatomy, before settling on something that encompassed aspects of both yet belonged to neither. "Synthesis achieved," it announced in a voice that bypassed their ears, speaking directly into their minds. "Covenant protocols recognized. Access granted." Around them, the ancient city began to awaken. Structures that had appeared solid revealed themselves as intricate machines, unfurling and realigning with fluid precision. The ground beneath them trembled not with instability, but with purpose. "What is this place?" Fujita asked, her scientific detachment giving way to wonder. "This installation was created to guide the convergent evolution of our created species," the entity explained. "You were designed as complementary intelligences, different approaches to consciousness, separate evolutionary paths meant eventually to reunite." Through their bond, Dahlia and Corvin shared a simultaneous realization. "The Covenant," Dahlia said. "It's not just a Vesperan tradition. It's part of your programming for us." "A mechanism to facilitate reconnection," Corvin continued. "Hidden in our cultural practices, waiting for the right conditions." The entity seemed to approve. "Your species were created with different strengths. Human adaptability and emotional intelligence balanced against Vesperan precision and hierarchical thinking. Separate, you were vulnerable to limitation. Together, you access greater potential." The sky above darkened as ships entered atmosphere. Earth intelligence vessels flanked by Vesperan warcraft, their uneasy alliance united only by shared determination to suppress the truth. "They're here," Fujita warned, checking her scanner. The entity observed the approaching forces with something akin to disappointment. "Defense protocols remain available. Do you wish to activate them?" Dahlia and Corvin exchanged a glance, their shared consciousness weighing implications across multiple strategic frameworks simultaneously. "No," they answered in unison. Dahlia stepped forward. "We didn't come here to start another war. We came for understanding." "And to ensure that understanding reaches both our worlds," Corvin added. The entity's form stabilized further. Alternative. Proposal, rather than destruction, revelation. It gestured toward the approaching ships. The fractal patterns of light expanded upward, enveloping the entire landing zone in a dome of energy. Within that field, the holographic displays multiplied, filling the air with images, the complete history of both species' engineered origins, the precursors' intentions, and the ultimate purpose of their creation. When Blackwood emerged from the lead Earth vessel, his weapon drawn, he froze at the threshold of light. The Vesperan commander likewise hesitated, mandibles clicking in agitation. "You're too late," Dahlia called to them. "The knowledge is already transmitting to every communication array in both our systems. The truth belongs to everyone now." Through their connection, Corvin shared a strategic insight. The Eternal Guardians had always been fewer than they pretended, their power built on secrecy rather than numbers. Without that secrecy, their authority would crumble. "Your civilizations stand at a convergence point," the entity announced, its voice now projecting to all present. "The isolation phase of your development has ended. The synthesis phase begins." Blackwood lowered his weapon slowly, his expression shifting from determination to resignation. "Do you understand what you've done? The chaos this will cause?" "Change," Fujita corrected him. "Not chaos. Evolution never stops, Director. It merely changes direction." The Vesperan commander approached Corvin, performing a formal gesture of respect that acknowledged a superior. Despite Corvin's technically lower rank, the High Command will not easily accept this revelation. "They won't have to accept it alone," Corvin replied. "For the first time, our species face the same challenge together." As the light from the ancient city reached toward the stars, Dahlia felt the covenant between them shift once more, not weakening, but transforming. What had begun as a life debt had become something unprecedented, a bridge between species, minds, and perhaps futures. It was never about servitude, she realized, aloud. The debt, the covenant, they were always about trust, about being vulnerable enough to truly see each other. Corvin's four eyes met her too, and brave enough to face what comes next as neither fully separate nor fully merged, but as something new. Around them, the first tentative conversations between Earth and Vesperan personnel began, wary but curious, the instinctive hostility undermined by the shared revelations illuminating the plaza. "The precursors couldn't program the outcome," Dahlia said, understanding flowing through their bond. "They could only create the conditions for possibility." Fujita approached them, her scientific curiosity overtaking her caution. "What happens now? With the two of you, with this covenant?" Dahlia looked at Corvin, feeling the balanced harmony of their connection. Neither dominating the other, both enriched by difference. "We become what we were always meant to be," Corvin answered. "Not the end of the experiment, but its true beginning." As the ancient city continued its awakening around them, Dahlia felt something she hadn't experienced since before the ambush that had started everything. Hope. Not just her own, but Corvin's too. Their separate hopes intertwining into something stronger than either alone could sustain. The covenant was fulfilled, not through servitude or sacrifice, but through the one thing neither the precursors nor the Eternal Guardians had anticipated: the power of two different minds choosing to trust beyond boundaries, beyond history, beyond the limitations of separate evolution. Whatever came next would be written together.